Come on in, everyone. Come on in because we are back, y'all. We are back for a special video. And I guess you could call this video a mashup between Married at First Sight and Love is Blind. I think it's a mashup. If any of you didn't get a chance to check out my previous video that I did on are we foolish in love or are women fearful in love? I did this a couple of days ago based on the Married at First Sight cast of MM and her new husband, Brandon. And then all of you guys wrote down in my comments with some interesting conversation. And you asked me to do a video kind of in the same vein of looking at like the love language, or I would say the compatibility of Camille and Thomas. And then a couple of weeks ago, you guys wanted me to do a video on AD and Ollie, the fact that they're engaged. So what I thought was, why don't I combine the two? Why don't I combine the conversation of the love relationship, how it started, how we got here? Do I believe in it? Do I think it will work? Between AD and Ollie and also Camille and Thomas, because I think it poses a new question. And that question is going to be, affirming love versus challenging love. That's what I'm going to do, because I really found it very interesting that Camille and AD both have very different ways of interacting when it comes to love. But does it mean, because they're so quite different in the way they approach love, where I'll say straight up, AD practices what I call affirming love, and Camille practices what I call challenging love. Doesn't mean that they love their partner any less, or does it mean that they both have learned these techniques somewhere else? And if they learned them somewhere else, are they good? Are they bad for them? And how did they come about? I think these are all such very, very interesting questions, and it's what we're going to explore in this video here today. But what I'm not going to do this time is I'm not going to sit up here and talk for 30 minutes and then remember to play my introduction video. I'm not going to do it. I am not going to do it, people. So right now, I'm going to play my introduction video. But before we get started looking at these two couples and looking at their different love stories, and can I believe that these two are together, that they all love each other? First of all, let's clear it up. Yes, I do believe it. But there are dangers and risk and rewards that come with these different techniques. So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about that after I play this introduction video. So please, in this little moment, this minute gap that we have, please don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe. And don't forget to leave a comment down below. And we're going to get into this conversation. See you soon. So we're back, y'all. We are back, and what we're going to be talking about is a mashup between Love is Blind, which is AD and Ollie, and then we're also going to be talking about Camille and Thomas from Married at First Sight, and we're going to be talking about, and I want you guys to even pose this question to yourself, what type of love language were you taught from the very beginning in your life, and what type of love language do you use now? And what is that effect on your dating life? I know everyone knows all these 5 types of love languages: gifts, words of affirmation, physical touch, acts of service. What's the other? Quality time. Everybody probably can identify their 5 love languages, but can you go back in time in your own life and figure out why that became your love language. See, there's the deeper question. Not that you just identify your love language, but can you go back and figure out why is that your love language? And is the reason rooted in something positive, or is it rooted in something negative? Because although it may be your love language, what if it comes from a place of toxicity or trauma in your life? Would you still want it now? For instance, let's say that your love language is gifts. Now, it could be from somewhere positive, but what if it's rooted in the fact that you had a parent, say it's your father, who was never around. He never had any time to spend with you. He never really poured into you, but he was rich or he had lots of money. So what he gave to you all the time were gifts. He gave you gifts, but he gave you no time. He gave you no other parts of him. So what you learn to do is realize that those gifts, you associate that with love. And so now in your adulthood, you love gifts. Now, some could say that's positive. Some could say that's negative. What if your love language is acts of service? What if you say, oh, I love a person to love me with acts of service? Well, how did you get that way? Did you get that way because when you were younger, you had to work for love? Did you get that way because your parents taught you you had to do things in order, and if you did those things to please them, then they would love on you? So did you associate acts working with getting love? I don't know, because that could then influence the way you love. So I'm not saying that any of these love languages are wrong, but I guess the question I'm asking is, how did you get these love languages? You know, physical touch. How did you come to be that you loved physical touch? Did it come from a trauma place, or did it come from a place where, I don't know, your mother kissed and hugged on you a lot, and that's the way that you felt loved, and so now going forward, that's what you like? I think these are the type of questions that we more need to ask ourselves as we're entering our own relationships. I don't believe it's enough to say, well, this is how I want to be loved. I think you got to know the why. Just like when people say, oh, I'm not attracted to a person because that person is this or that. Well, how did you become unattracted to that characteristic? What is it in your past that taught you that that is unattractive, right? What is it associated with? What memory have you associated with that characteristic so that now in present day, you call it unattractive, when really maybe what it's more tied to is something in your childhood that was negative? Maybe you need to alter that. I don't know. But what we are going to talk about is we're going to talk about two couples, AD and Ali versus Camille and Thomas. Because what I believe we have here is a complete juxtaposition of two people who I'm going to give credit to them that they are in love. But what I want to ask is, you have two couples in love, but yet it is very clear that they love differently. Let's give them credit that they're in love. I know a lot of people don't want to say that Camille doesn't even love Thomas. I'm not going to go that far. What I'm going to go and say with Camille is that she has learned to show love in a way that is non-affirming. And if any of you have watched Married at First Sight with me, you'll know that one of my theories behind Camille's way of loving Thomas is from her childhood, and I think it comes from her days as an athlete and being a basketball player, and also with her father. When we first started meeting Camille, we knew right away that Camille was competitive. She told us about her history of being a star basketball player. And it was when Camille went home to her family and we started to hear the stories of her father. She was a daddy's girl. And when her father said to Camille and said to all of us that Camille was very good in sports and basketball, but if she had have been tougher, if she would have been tougher, he thought she could have gone further in sports. And I thought, there it is right there. Because one thing about Camille we would see playing out loud was this toughness, was this criticalness, was this idea that she wanted to make Thomas tougher. She wanted to strengthen Thomas. And a lot of this, I believe, was rooted in her childhood. You know, a real therapist, I think she's a psychotherapist, Dr. Pepper, told Camille that she was over parentified when she was a child. And as a role, as a child, she took on roles in her family that she probably shouldn't have done at such a young age. And now here Camille is trying to, in a lot of ways, parent Thomas, right? And remember, Camille is darn near almost 10 years younger than Thomas. And Camille believes that she's smarter than Thomas. She believes that she knows more. She knows best. And she believes that she is the one to make Thomas become this certain type of person. And even though Thomas has a lot of years on her, right? And we saw this play out. We saw this play out with Camille, even with her family members, sisters and brothers whom Camille really wasn't that much older than, but yet Camille would liked the position of being sort of a coach in a superior position than her siblings and telling them what to do and giving them advice. And remember, when Married at First Sight had their whole discussion about who gives the best advice, everyone said Camille. They even said Juan gave the best advice. But I think really what people should be saying is not who gives the best advice, but who gives the most advice. Because I think if you change the word from the best advice to the most, Camille would definitely win the trophy because she likes to give Thomas a lot of advice. Does it mean it's the best? No, it's not always the best, but it's the most because I think that's how Camille operates. She likes to give the most advice because I think Camille likes to be in charge. We talked about this. I think Camille's way of loving Thomas, which is to challenge him all the time, to beat him all the time, to make him tougher, whether it be in any type of activity, what Camille likes to do is challenge Thomas in the bedroom and sex, on the basketball court, playing charades. In this last episode, she had David and Madison over to the house, and instead of playing couple against couple, she and Thomas as a team against Madison and David as a team, what Camille chose to do was women against men. She chose to put herself in a position where she was competing against her husband, when the reality is what she should have chosen was couples. Her and Thomas as a team against Madison and David as a team. That way, you either win as a team or you lose as a team. But what Camille set up was a dynamic where she could still be the winner with Madison, but Thomas could be a loser. She's very comfortable with that. And she's very comfortable with a lot of things that come from the sport world. Remember, the sporting world, when you're training athletes, you want them to be tough. You want them to be mentally tough. You want them to believe that winning is everything because you don't want any second place athletes. You want first place athletes. So what you teach them is second place means nothing. First place is the only thing that matters. And so what you can get into sometimes is you can get into a selfish mindset in terms of this is what I need to do to win. But in a marriage, it's the wrong type of thinking. It's the wrong type of thinking. There's an old video clip. I don't know how many of you watch basketball or remember Kobe Bryant. I'm from LA, so the Lakers are my home team. And there was always a big beef in LA between are you a Kobe fan or are you a Shaq fan, right? Because there was a big beef in knowing that Shaq and Kobe didn't get along. Who were you most a fan of? I always felt that you could not deny the fact that Kobe was a great basketball player. But one of the things I always said about Kobe is there's a video of him talking about, I think it's Jamel Hill, is that Hill her name? Jamel Hill brought up the point saying that there are two types of players who love to win or players who hate to lose. And Kobe said that he was neither one of them because what he says is he plays to learn. And I think you could dissect that uh, statement in a lot of different ways. But when I remember him saying that, I said to myself, I agree, that's how Kobe thinks. Because in that statement, if you say, do you play to win or do you play to lose? And what he says, I play to learn. Well, learning is something that is unique to yourself, right? But playing to win is sort of more like I play to win as a team. And one of the criticism for Kobe was that Kobe always worked on himself. Kobe was always going to bring his best game. And sometimes that resorted in a selfishness because the team could lose, the Lakers could lose, but great, Kobe scored 50 points. And so maybe he learned. Maybe he learned a new technique on the basketball court. Maybe he learned how to shoot from the corner. Maybe he learned how to fake out a player even better. But in the end, the Lakers were losing. And so he said, hey, Kobe, I understand that you want to learn and you want to get better, but if you rise, but no one else rises with you, the team can't lose. And when I look at Camille, I feel like she plays by that mantra of Kobe Bryant, which is she plays for herself. Camille, I believe, loved a lot of the way that she loves people. I think she learned it in her sports world. And I think she also learned it from her father, which is you've got to be tough, you've got to be strong. And what I have to constantly tell you are the things you need to work on, because that's what a coach does. When a coach is teaching you in sports to win a trophy, to run the race faster, what that coach is going to concentrate on oftentimes are your weaknesses, because what that coach wants you to do is get stronger in those areas. That's why it's called strength training, because what they're trying to do is build your strength. And I think what Camille thinks when she is loving Thomas in his way, I think Camille actually thinks is love. I think she thinks this is how I'm used to being loved. That is being critical of people, making them tougher, so then that they will be a better person. And because I do that to them, it's because I love them, right? It's almost like a parent said, I know I'm tough on you, but I'm only tough on you because I love you. Nah, that mentality that Kobe was talking about, I think that works well maybe in sports, but it's absolutely a horrible technique in a relationship, because in a relationship, you cannot win by yourself. If you cannot win and your partner fails, because if you win and your partner fails, your marriage fails. And so this is the reason why I think Camille absolutely has to change the way that she loves. And it actually isn't even a thing she needs to change for Thomas. We know that Thomas has his own sort of issues. The most glaring one being he doesn't speak up. And the reason why I believe he doesn't speak up is because he's afraid of rejection. He's afraid that if he expresses discontent or unhappiness, it will escalate or even fuel an abandonment process that he's deathly afraid of, you see. But then he's paired with a woman like Camille who makes him work for love. Any of you who've watched the Married at First Sight show from the very beginning, we know one thing about Thomas. One of the real reasons why Thomas is getting married or came on the show was to have children. He said this over and over again. He says he's 40 years old, he wants to have children. Camille told us on the show that she believes she was born to be a mother. She said she's always wanted to be a mother. And in fact, when they were on the show, she often told Camille often told Thomas that within a year or two of being married, that she would want to have children. And that was great for Thomas, because what Thomas said was, I don't want to marry a woman that doesn't want to have children right away. I'm 40 years old. I don't want to wait forever. And in fact, in that conversation we saw Camille have with Thomas's brother had to admonish Camille over the fact that all of a sudden now Camille is ready to postpone being a mother. What? We thought you were born to be a mother. That's what you told us. We thought you were going to be willing to go ahead and have babies within the first 1 or 2 years. What happened, Camille? Well, probably what happened is Camille wants Thomas to work harder for it. There's probably something else that she needs him to do. There's some other things she needs to get from him first before she'll have this baby. She's about to hold Thomas hostage for a baby. She's going to lord it over him. She's going to dangle it in his face like a carrot. You want a baby from me? This is what I need from you. I'm quite sure she's going to come up with some sort of thing like, I want more stability. I want a house. I want this. I want that. You need to give me all of this before I will give you the baby. It goes back to what she does. I want to make you a better person. So before I reward you, before I give you what you want, before I reward you, you're going to have to do something. This is challenging love. This is it right here. I bet Camille's a big fan of that show, Love and Basketball. Remember Love and Basketball, that scene towards the end where Omar Epps, is that his name? He was going to go over there and marry Tyra Banks. And Sanaa Lathan said, is she about to fight for her love? And if you beat me in the basketball game, you can go marry Tyra. But if I beat you, you going to have to love me. That's probably Camille. Hey, Thomas, if you could beat me in basketball, then I'll love you. This girl. Camille really needed to go back and really look at where she came up with this love language, which is you got to work for my love. And then every time I love you, you're going to have to do something for me. Where is that rooted in, Camille? You're real comfortable with it, but you really need to go back and think about how it developed. I know it might make you feel comfortable. I know it might make you feel secure. I know it might make you feel mighty, but it is rooted in trauma. It is rooted in toxicity. So although you are comfortable with it, it is toxic, and therefore you need to get rid of it. Now, if you look at Thomas's and Camille's relationship, their love relationship, it's completely different from AD's and Ollie's situation. Camille and Thomas' relationship, I'm concerned about it because the way that Camille loves Thomas is triggering in a negative way to Thomas. However, when I look at AD's and Ollie's situation, the way that they have come together, and I haven't seen the show where they got together. I guess that's going to come on this summer. But let's just go with the fact that it's real love, which actually I can believe it, because when I look at these two and I look at what I know about them from the show, I can see it. So let me explain. First of all, I'm going to go back to AD. I was a fan of AD. If any of you guys watched my Love Was Blind reviews with AD and her season with Clay, I really liked AD. And one of the things that I liked about AD is because AD was a cheerleader. She was physically a cheerleader. I think she used to be a cheerleader for, was it the New England Patriots? I forget who she was a cheerleader for. But she was a cheerleader in practice in terms of that was part of her career. And I think AD became a cheerleader in the way that she interacts with men. And she was always affirming people, always lifting them up, always telling them nice things to make them feel like the hero in her life. And I think she did a lot of that with Clay. I was not one of the people who felt that the reason why Clay wasn't with AD is because he wasn't physically attracted to her. I know a lot of people thought that about Clay. I don't. I even know that later on they showed Clay with this other scandalous woman. I forget it, saying, see, Clay never wanted no dark-skinned woman. I never really believed that. I believe that the downfall and the demise of the relationship with Clay and AD centered around the way in which AD interacts with men. And I remember there being a story about AD's ex-boyfriend was the club owner where she worked. Remember, she worked in a club and she was kind of like not a hostess, but maybe in charge of like marketing or branding, whatever the case may be. The person who owned the venue was an ex-boyfriend. And so AD was still entangled with that man, maybe not sexually, but there was some belief that AD was receiving some sort of financial benefit of that relationship, more so than just being an employee of the business. And I believed it. And what I believe about Clay is that made him uncomfortable because I think Clay is a very, very hard worker. He's an entrepreneur. And I think what Clay didn't like about AD was I think he might have started to feel as if AD was more of a gold digger. And I think that turned him off. I think Clay was starting to feel like AD used men for money in order to supplement her life. And Clay was not about to have that happen. Because I think that's really what scared off Clay. I know a lot of you are going to say it's about the way she looked. I don't think that's what it was. I think this is another situation, just like when we talk about there's real fear around money. There's real fear around the idea that if I'm one type of person when it comes to money, that I don't want to partner with a person who's going to become a drag on me. And I think AD wanted the soft life. I think she verbally said that. And I don't think Clay was interested in providing that. And I don't think that's the type of woman he wanted. I don't believe it had to do with physical attraction, because part of what I think Clay liked was what a lot of men would like about AD. She was affirming. She lifted people up. She was very sensual. She was very sexual. She had a very soft demeanor. And I think a lot of men would find that attractive. But the part of AD that I think probably got her in trouble out here in the world of dating was the gold digger vibes. Now, is she a gold digger? I never got enough information to think that she was, but I could understand how a lot of men would get that vibe from her. Absolutely. Now I look at Ali. What was my opinion of Ali when he was on Love is Blind? Well, if y'all remember, I didn't trust Ali. I didn't like Ali. I thought Ali was a liar. Now, my opinion of Ali evolved somewhat over time. It didn't really evolve all the way until at the end of the season, it was revealed that Ali suffered from severe ADHD, which started to explain some of his behavior. But my original thought that Ali was not completely truthful about Demi was true. I still believe it's true, okay? Ali can tell me all day long that he was attracted to Demi, but I don't believe it. What I believe Ali was attracted to in Demi was the fact that Demi liked him. This goes back to my earlier video when I tell you about like people who like you. And what Ali did was he tried to like Demi because Demi liked him, but Demi was liking a person that I don't think naturally Ali would have liked Demi. Okay. We originally thought, at least let me speak to myself, that Ali may not even be interested in dating Black women. We had a lot of conversation around it because remember, Ali also liked Catherine. And I said, wow, Catherine and Demi are two different people. How can this be, Ali? But now that I know a little bit more about Ali, what we know about Ali is Ali likes women who like him. Ali likes women who give him the juice. And Ali wanted to be married. And Catherine, if you remember in the very beginning, came on very strong. She was very flirtatious. She was very sensual. She was very sexy. A lot of the characteristics that Catherine showed in the beginning, flirtatious, sexual, sensual, there actually are a lot of characteristics that AD has, that they actually can lead with their sexuality, their sensuality. And for a person like Ali, who is craving that, who wants that acceptance, it actually feels good to him. AD heals those parts of Ali and what he's looking for. You see, because once Ali told us that he suffered from severe ADHD and that it has been a problem in his past relationships, we assumed that Ali had a lot of women because he was good looking, he was tall, he got muscles. We were like, oh yeah, you probably have a lot of women. But now that we know of the other problems that come with Ali could have suffered in his past relationships that, yeah, they start off good because women are drawn to me because of my looks. But once they realize what it takes to be in a relationship with me because I have ADHD, the relationships fall apart. They fall apart. And what we knew about Ali was he was struggling showing up who he really is in the beginning of a relationship because he was so afraid of the rejection on the back end once they really got to know him and really get in touch with his ADHD. And what we know about AD is patient. She's kind. She's soft. She builds you up. She encourages you. If you guys haven't watched her interview with Ali, because AD has started a YouTube channel, you should watch it. And you should see the way that she handles Ali. It is very soft. It is very sensual. It is very caring, and it is very patient. She lifts him up. And let me tell you, this is going to be candy to Ali's ears. And Ali is going to love that about her. And Ali is also going to get the part that he also wants, is he does want a sexy woman. He wants a sensual woman. He wanted all that too. And I think that's what he liked about Catherine. But what he liked about Demi, was he liked the security. Because remember, Demi was promising to love him regardless of who he was. But yet, Ali was willing to go with the person that simply loved him, but he really wasn't attracted to Demi in that way. It wasn't a strong attraction. He may say that there was, but it's clear it wasn't. And when he ended up being sort of rejected by Catherine, because remember, Catherine essentially ended up choosing that fine man, that real fine man. What was his name? I forget his name already. Him over choosing Ali. And it became easy for Ali then to go with Demi. Okay. So when I look at AD and I look at Ali together now, do I think they could make a great couple? I do. But here's the risk. Remember, AD is affirming. She's patient. She's sensual. She's soft. She's all these things, which I think are going to play well with Ali. But the part I talked about that Clay did not like in AD was his part about her that can give gold digger vibes. When I was watching their interview together, at the very end, they announced that Ali lives in London and AD lives in North Carolina. And they announced that they are going to be moving to LA. And at the very end, AD said she wants to live in luxury. And Ali was already trying to manage her expectations and say, listen, I come from a city where housing is very expensive, which is London. So we are going to need to tame our expectations when we move to another city that's very expensive, which is LA. And what AD said was, no, I want to live in luxury. Well, here we go. AD needs to be careful because this is the same mentality that I think sort of turned Clay off, right? That I think this became uncomfortable for him. Now, since AD has come off the show of Love is Blind, she's got a couple new job opportunities. She's got this new YouTube channel, which is a hit. If you haven't watched it, gone over there because AD gonna need some money to pay for these nice luxuries she wants to have in Los Angeles. And we know that Ali's gonna have some opportunities as well. So hopefully their money they start to make in television, possibly hosting different things or whatever they do, can help pay for this luxury life that AD wants. But one of the changes I think that's coming along with AD is now maybe a check will come with all her expectations of having a luxurious life. When I think when she was with Clay, she was looking more for him to provide the soft life for her, but not necessarily generate the type of money she would need to do to contribute to that. Did that mean that AD was broke and she didn't have any money or job? No, I don't think that. But I think AD's lifestyle that she wanted exceeded what her income was at that time. And so I think that became the demise of their relationship. But now what she is she has an Ali who she is feeding Ali in a way that he needs to be fed, and probably more so in a way that Clay didn't need. Clay didn't need the same sort of validation and pumping up that Ali needed. And so even though it was a strength of AD's, it wasn't that strength did not outvalue the money portion of AD. But when it comes to Ali, whereby I believe that is very important to him because I think he has experienced a lot of rejection in relationships, and he wants a sensual woman. He wants a sexy woman. He wants a woman that's going to be patient with him with his ADHD. I think he is very happy with AD. I haven't seen this show. What is it? Love Match or Love Island or Perfect Match. That's what it's called. Perfect Match. I haven't seen the show A Perfect Match, but when it comes on this summer, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it. But I think the important part of even talking about these two different couples, AD and Ollie versus Camille and Thomas, is really taking a look at how they all develop these love styles. Even AD, how did she come to be the type of person where this is the type of way that she tries to receive love from men through her sensuality, her sexuality, and all that? I'm not saying that it's not an affirming or good way, but it came from somewhere. She learned it from someplace, you see. And sometimes it could have come from a negative place. But here we are. Here we are. This is what we have. And like I said before in my earlier video, we all come into relationships with traumas from our past behavior that we've learned. And even if those traumas or past are not here hurting our partners, then I think we can work through them in a relationship. That's why I have hope for AD and Ollie, because no matter how they got here, at least the two things that they would need to work on in the relationship are not overly damaging to them. But the couple I'm most concerned about is Thomas and Camille, because I think theirs could be damaging. I think Camille's overcriticalness, the idea she thinks people should work for love and they need to be tough and they need to be strengthened, I think that is damaging to Thomas. And I think Thomas's fear of opening his mouth and not giving Camille feedback is also damaging to the relationship. I think this is a situation that over time it can deteriorate, whereby when I look at an AD and an Ollie, I hope that maybe their relationship can improve. So, like I said, this is all a great place for us all to do reflection and to ask yourself if you have correctly identified your love language, whether that is acts of service, physical touch, words of affirmation, quality time, or gifts. How did you get that? What made you feel so good to receive love in that manner? Where did it come from? And did it come from a place in which its origins were toxic, or did it come from a place in which the origins were a good place, right? Because if it came from a place of toxicity, there could be a sort of a reasoning that you might need to evaluate that as your love language. Because in a lot of ways, if you still use the same toxic love language that you learned when you were a child, you're constantly reiterating that same childhood trauma in your present. So in a lot of ways, you might have to develop a new love language, right? You might have to let go of that old love language and develop one that is more rooted in something that is more healthy, right? Take a look at it. Take a look at it in your own life. Do a little bit of introspection. Shine the spotlight on yourself and see if you need to do a little work in that area. Because if you do, maybe what that will allow you to do is now partner with people differently, and maybe it will improve the way that you partner with people in romantic relationships. And maybe the old way that you have was actually detrimental to your relationships, and it's what's been keeping you away from finding your true and perfect partner. But that's it. That's all I got, y'all. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and I will talk to you later. Bye.